mencegah kram otot, dan memperkuat tulang. Melindungi daya tahan tubuh dengan 1000 mg vitamin C, membantu menurunkan tekanan.
Think should be allowed onto Twitter?
My aspiration for Twitter, or in general for the digital town square, would be that it is as inclusive in the broader sense of the word as possible, that it is an appealing system to use. So, I mean, ideally, I'd like to get like 80% of, let's say, North America, and perhaps, I don't know, half the world or something, ultimately on Twitter in one form or another. And that means it must be something that is appealing to people. It obviously cannot be a place where they feel uncomfortable or harassed, or they'll simply not use it.
Can you set the record straight on one thing, which is this issue about the layoffs? I think you said initially that Tesla, 10% of the workforce would be cut, then 10% of salaried would be cut, then salaried would stay flat and overall headcount would go up. Tesla, 10%. What is the number? I know there's already, I think, been a lawsuit about the 10%. Is 10% the goal to reduce the workforce, or what is the number that we should think about, or that you're planning?
So Tesla is reducing the salaried workforce by roughly 10% over the next probably 3 months or so. We expect to grow our hourly workforce. It's quite clear that we expect to grow our hourly workforce, but we grew very fast on the salaried side, and we grew a little too fast in some areas, and so it requires a reduction in the salaried workforce. And we're about 2/3 hourly and 1/3 salary. So I guess technically a 10% reduction in the salaried workforce is only roughly a 3.5% reduction in total headcount.
So Elon Musk thinks a recession is inevitable. Egypt's finance minister doesn't think we're in one yet, but does reckon the economy is slowing. I caught up with Mohammed Maid.
No, we are not already in a recession, but we have now a downgrading of economic recovery. We have seen World Bank, IMF, and others have reduced their expectation for economic growth. But if the current direction to be continued and might be even escalated, I believe that inevitably we will go for recession.
And do you see that because of higher interest rates that are coming to bear in your economy and the global economy?
It's a package of elements will work together, leading us to recession. Inflation, high cost of financing, food security, concern about the war and the extent of the war, and whether this war can be accelerated somewhere or another, and also pressure on many developing countries in this world, which can contribute heavily to economic growth, will have to suffer from the negative impact, which will be at the expense of their ability to grow.
Are you in shock or panic over fuel and food at the moment?
Panic rather than a shock. I believe that if things will accelerate further, it will materialize to a big shock.
The consequence of food and fuel is 13% core inflation, sir. I've had people tell me inflation is topping out. It's over. Second half of the year it'll get better. Do you share that view? Do you think inflation has plateaued or topped out?
Expectation is to increase, not to decrease.
Significantly?
It depends. If oil prices will continue this trend, if food prices continue to this trend, if the federals and the other central banks will increase interest further, definitely we will go for further inflation. Particularly that, we may start to see, in addition to what we have seen until now, more interruption to trade, more interruption to supply chain, and difficulties to get financing.
So it's 13% on the core at the moment. How bad could it get?
If you are talking about Egypt in particular,
Indeed, sir.
13%, will depend on how much inflation we are importing. This is a significant part. Why? Because if inflation accelerates further in Europe, in the United States of America, as a result of all these factors, and in addition to that, higher interest rate will add to higher cost of financing.
Indeed.
This will mean that we will be negatively impacted. We hope that this will not be materialized in the coming period. So we should, I'm worried also about how the monetary policy as a central bank of Egypt will look at the situation, whether they will increase further basis point for their base rate. They have already increased 300 basis point, and we don't know what will be their decisions very soon to react to inflation.
So you are worried about further significant rate hikes from the central bank?
Yes, I'm worried, and I hope that we can let the Egyptian economy to grow, and high cost of financing, it will be a problem for the industry, for the financing cost, for the economy, but eventually inflation is a core business. Inflation control is part of the core business for Central Bank of Egypt.
Up next, the Deputy Chairman and CEO of the Kuwait Petroleum Corporation tells us how much of a premium he thinks the war in Ukraine has put in.
Stay at the surface, and the surface is all you'll see. Essential intelligence from S&P Global takes you deeper, where a more prosperous future is yours for the seeking. S&P Global. Seek and prosper.
The oil prices. This is Bloomberg.
Stocked early enough all these precious materials you were just mentioning, and we were on the lucky side that our prognosis was spot on in a way, forecasting what kind of material we would need and what quantity we would need.